What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to a new action camera review. For today we have a new one from MGCOOL and this one right here is called the Explorer 3. Now this camera can record in real 4K and we also have image stabilization for 4K recordings. As for pricing, well, you can find this for about $100, but like anything else it really depends where you're gonna buy it from. The Explorer 3 is using the iCatch V50 CPU and the Panasonic 34112 image sensor with a field of view of 170 degrees. We are gonna start with a very quick unboxing. So the camera comes in a black box and we don't really get any information on the box. Inside the box we are gonna find the camera and the waterproof case, and the waterproof case looks very different than anything that we've seen in the past. Now the manufacturer suggests that the waterproof case is good to up to 30 meters in the water, but as always I haven't exactly been swimming, but I did have the waterproof case in water and there was no water going inside. There is also a small user manual that has some useful information. We have a mini USB cable, that's right, that's a mini USB cable, and we also have some accessories, but realistically not as many as we've seen for other action cameras in the past. The action camera itself looks somewhat different from all the other action cameras that we've seen on the channel lately, and it kind of reminds me of a GoPro 5. And we even have a 2-inch screen on the back that's also a touch screen. At the top we have a couple of buttons, one of them is the power button, the other one is the recording button, we have an LED and some holes for the microphone. And since we are talking about the microphone, we might as well check out some microphone samples recorded with this camera. Alright, so we have yet another microphone test with this new MGCOOL Explorer action camera that I'm trying out. I'm recording in 4K at 30 frames per second, I'm holding the camera in my hand, and it is a bit windy. But other than that you should only be able to hear my voice. So this is how the microphone sounds. This is a quick microphone test with this new MGCOOL Explorer camera that I'm trying out. I'm currently recording in 4K at 30 frames per second and I'm talking from behind the camera. So there is no wind outside and you should only be able to hear my footsteps and my voice. So this is how the microphone sounds under these conditions. And as you've heard for yourself, the microphone recordings sound quite good. Alright, so going back to the camera, on the right hand side we are gonna find the speaker, and on the left we have a mini USB port, we also have the HDMI out and the slot for the SD card. I tried a couple of 64 gigs SD card with this action camera and I was able to record in 4K at 30 frames per second without any issues. I'm gonna leave some links to those SD cards in the video's description just in case you don't know what you should get for your camera. This camera can also record while it's charging, and that's great mostly if you're planning to do time lapses with it, but unfortunately we don't have a car mode, so you can still use this as a dash cam in your car. However, you're gonna have to start and stop the recordings by yourself manually. And I've also tried an external microphone through that mini USB port that we have on the side there, but unfortunately the camera doesn't seem to support external microphones. Alright, so going back to the camera, and all the way at the bottom we are gonna find a plastic door that lets you access the 1100 mAh battery. Charging the battery takes about an hour and 45 minutes and you can get about 60 minutes of recording in 4K at 30 frames per second, or about an hour and 20 minutes of recording in 1080p. And we are moving to the 2-inch touchscreen on the back of this camera. So this is one of the best screens that I've seen for any action camera. First of all, it gets bright enough so you can actually see it outside, and the viewing angles are also very good. Now the touch sensitivity isn't as good as you'd find on a smartphone, but it's good enough so you can actually control the camera. So I don't really have any complaints about the screen. One of the most important features for this action camera is the electronic image stabilization for 4K recordings, and that's great because most action cameras in this price range don't get any stabilization for 4K recordings. Now the image stabilization works good, but not the best that I've seen, but I'm gonna show you a couple of samples with the image stabilization on and with the image stabilization off. And as you've seen for yourself, the image stabilization is decent but not mind-blowing. Another important feature for this action camera is the possibility of controlling this over Wi-Fi from your smartphone or tablet. You have to install an app on your smartphone or tablet, and you can find that for Android or iOS. It really depends what you're using. And once you have that installed, the camera can make a Wi-Fi network. You connect to that Wi-Fi network and then you can see everything that the camera sees right on your smartphone. You can start and stop the recordings. Of course, you have access to all the settings, so you can change all the settings right from your smartphone, and you can also check out whatever footage you have recorded on the camera. And we are moving on to one of the most important parts for any action camera, and that is the quality of the video recordings. So next we are going to check out some daytime recordings that I've done with this camera. Of course it's winter time here, so there are no green trees or anything like that, but there is a lot of sunshine and blue skies. And all the recordings that you're about to see are recorded in 4K at 30 frames per second and the image stabilization on. And as you've seen for yourself, the quality of the daytime recordings is fairly good. Maybe not as good as you'd get from that E4K Plus action camera, but once again, this action camera right here costs only about $99. Next, we're gonna check out some nighttime recordings. This is another microphone test with this new action camera that I'm trying out. I'm currently recording in 4K at 30 frames per second and I'm talking behind the camera. I'm obviously holding the camera in my hand. And as you've seen for yourself, the nighttime recordings don't look anywhere as good as the daytime recordings, so the footage is quite dark and very grainy. So if you're planning to use this for nighttime recordings, maybe this is not the best action camera for that. Now, since this is a camera, it can also take pictures, and I'm very impressed by the pictures that I took with this camera, mostly the ones that I took during the daytime. The ones that I took at night, well, they become a bit grainy here and there, but overall for an action camera, they do look quite good. Using the camera, it's fairly simple. So first of all, you can change in between modes right from those buttons on top, and you can also start and stop recordings from those buttons, so you don't really need to touch the screen. So if it's cold outside and you have gloves on, you can still control the camera right from those buttons. If you need to change any settings, you're gonna have to do that with a touch screen or from your smartphone, so it really depends how you're using the camera. Each mode has its own settings menu, of course. So for example, if you're in the video recording mode, you can change the video resolution, you can choose if the image stabilization is on or off, you can choose how long the files should be, and so on. There is also a general settings menu, and from there you have access to camera related settings. So for example, you can control the screen brightness, you can change the volume for the microphone, you can format the SD card, change the languages for the action camera, and so on. But it really depends what you're looking for and what you want to change. And it's time to conclude this video. So this action camera does fairly good for daytime recordings, and I'm glad to see that we have image stabilization for 4K recordings, because that's important mostly if you're running or biking or anything like that, and the camera moves like that and the image is gonna be somewhat stabilized. Now, unfortunately, the camera doesn't do that good for low light recording, so if you're planning to use this at night, this may not be the right camera for you. So overall, I think it offers good value for its price. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.